Jake Martinez stood by the big window of the spaceship and looked out at the stars. He was a soldier but also helped with science work on the ship called Meridian. Today was special because alien visitors were coming to meet humans for the first time. Jake felt his hands shake a little as he watched their ship get closer. The aliens were called Velari, and they looked very different from humans. They were tall, and their skin could change colors like a rainbow. Their technology was much better than what humans had, but they came in peace. They wanted to learn about humans and share knowledge. Dr. Lisa Crawford walked up to Jake and other crew members. She was the smart person who studied alien life. "Remember, everyone, these aliens can hear much better than us," she said. "They can also feel what we feel inside our hearts." Their main person coming today is named Zara Lynn. She has been very nice to us so far, but today will show if humans are ready to be friends with other aliens in space. Captain Roy Bennett called everyone to get ready. He was the boss of the ship and had gray hair and kind eyes. All the crew members put on their best uniforms. Jake checked his uniform twice to make sure it looked perfect. This was the most important day in human history. The alien ship looked like a big silver egg floating in space. It had no sharp edges and seemed to glow with its own light. Jake had never seen anything so beautiful. The ship moved without making any sound and came close to their ship very slowly. "All crew members to the docking bay," came the voiceover. The speakers. Jake walked with the others through the metal hallways of their ship. His heart was beating fast. What would these aliens be like in person? Would they be friendly? Would they think humans were good enough to be their friends? The docking bay was the biggest room on the ship where other ships could connect. All the crew stood in neat lines waiting. The air felt thick with excitement and fear. No human had ever been this close to aliens before. Some crew members looked nervous and others looked excited. Jake stood in the second row behind Dr. Crawford. He was 28 years old and had been in space for 5 years. He had brown hair and dark eyes and was taller than most people. His job was to show aliens around the ship and explain how human machines worked. The big metal door started to open with a hissing sound. White light came through the opening and Jake had to close his eyes for a second. When he opened them again, he saw 3 figures walking through the light. They moved like they were floating on air. The first alien was Zara Lynn, and Jake felt his breath catch in his throat. She was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. She was about as tall as a tall human woman, but moved with perfect grace. Her skin looked like it was made of pearls and changed from blue to silver as she walked. Her eyes were bigger than human eyes and seemed to glow with their own light. She had no hair, but her head was perfectly shaped. Behind Zara Lynn came 2 other Velari aliens. One was taller and had darker skin that looked more purple. The other was smaller and had skin that stayed mostly green. All 3 wore clothes that looked like they were made from starlight itself. Captain Bennett stepped forward and bowed his head a little. "Welcome to our ship Meridian," he said in his most polite voice. "We are very happy that you came to visit." "Yes." Zara Lynn bowed her head back to the captain. When she spoke, her voice was like music. "Thank you, Captain Bennett. We are also very happy to be here. We want to learn about human people and how you live." Jake watched as Zara Lynn looked around the docking bay. Her skin kept changing colors, and he wondered what each color meant. When her eyes met his for just a second, his heart jumped. She had the most intelligent look he had ever seen. Dr. Crawford stepped forward next. "I am Dr. Lisa Crawford. I study life from other worlds. We have prepared many things to show you about human culture and science." "That sounds wonderful," Zara Lynn said. "We brought some things to share with you, too. We hope this will be the start of friendship between our people." The captain showed the aliens around the main parts of the ship first. Jake followed behind the group and listened as Zara Lynn asked questions about everything. She wanted to know how the engines worked, how humans made food, how they chose their leaders. Every question was smart and showed she really cared about understanding humans. When they reached the science labs, Dr. Crawford explained Jake's job. "Lieutenant Martinez will be your guide for technical things. He knows our machines and science. Very well. Zarlin turned to look at Jake directly for the first time. Hello, Lieutenant Martinez. I look forward to learning from you. Jake tried to speak, but his mouth felt dry. Hello, please call me Jake. I will do my best to answer your questions. She smiled, and her skin turned warm gold colors. Thank you, Jake. Please call me Zarlin. I have many questions about how humans make things work. The rest of the day went by quickly. Jake showed Zarlin the computer systems and explained how humans used math and science. She was very smart and understood everything quickly. Sometimes she would ask questions that made Jake think in new ways. During dinner, all the humans and aliens ate together in the main dining room. The aliens brought their own food, which looked like small glowing fruits. They were polite and tried some human food too. Zarlin said she liked chocolate cake very much. Jake watched Zarlin talk with other crew members. She laughed at human jokes even when they were not very funny. She asked about human families and love and art. Her skin would change colors when she felt different things. Jake started to learn that blue meant she was thinking, gold meant she was happy, and purple meant she was surprised. When the day ended, the aliens went back to their ship to sleep. Jake lay in his bed that night thinking about everything that happened. He had never met anyone like Zarlin before. She was not just beautiful, but also kind and smart. He wondered what tomorrow would bring and if he would get to spend more time with her. The first day of contact between humans and aliens had gone well. No one made any big mistakes and both sides seemed happy. Jake fell asleep thinking about Zarlin's golden smile and wondering what other wonders the universe might hold. The next morning, Jake woke up early and put on his best uniform again. He was excited to spend more time with Zarlin and show her more about human technology. At breakfast, he ate quickly and checked his schedule 3 times to make sure he knew exactly where to meet her. Zarlin arrived right on time at the science lab. Her skin was a soft blue color, which Jake had learned meant she was ready to think and learn. She wore the same flowing clothes that seemed to move like water around her body. Good morning, Jake, she said with that musical voice. What will you teach me today? Jake had planned everything carefully. I thought we could start with how humans grow food in space, then look at our computer systems, and finish in the botanical lab where we keep earth plants. That sounds perfect, Zarlin said. Her skin shifted to interested yellow colors. On my world, we grow our food very differently. I am curious to see human methods. They spent the morning in the growing rooms where humans use special lights and water systems to make vegetables and fruits. Zarlin asked many questions about why humans chose certain plants and how they made sure the food was healthy. Jake explained everything he could and found that teaching her was easy because she understood things so quickly. Humans are very clever with limited resources, she said, while looking at tomato plants growing under purple lights. Your people make good solutions when you do not have much to work with. Jake felt proud when she said nice things about humans. We have to be creative because our technology is not as advanced as yours. Advanced does not always mean better, Zarlin replied. Sometimes simple solutions work best. After lunch, they went to the computer room where Jake showed her how humans stored information and made calculations. Zarlin was amazed that humans could make such complex machines with their basic materials. Your computers think differently than ours, she said while watching data move across the screens. Ours work more like living minds, but yours work more like perfect logic machines. Jake had never thought about computers that way before. How do your computers work like living minds? Zarlin tried to explain, but it was hard to put into human words. They grow and change and learn from feelings as much as facts? Your computers are more honest in some ways because they only deal with what is real. As the day went on, Jake found himself watching Zarlin more than the machines they were looking at. The way she moved was like dancing. The way she asked questions showed how much she cared about understanding everything. Her skin colors changed with her thoughts and feelings, and Jake started to feel like he could read her emotions. Danny Walsh joined them in the afternoon to help record everything for the official reports. Danny was Jake's best friend on the ship, and they had served together for 3 years. He was shorter than Jake, with red hair, and always made jokes to keep people happy. "So this is the famous alien everyone is talking about," Danny said when Jake introduced him to Zara-Lynn. Zara-Lynn bowed her head politely. "Hello, Danny Walsh. Jake has told me you help make records of our meetings." "That is right. I make sure. We remember everything important," Danny said while setting up his recording equipment. "Jake has been very excited to be your guide." Jake felt his face get red when Danny said that. He hoped Zara-Lynn did not notice, but her skin shifted to amused pink colors, so maybe she did. The last stop of the day was the botanical lab, where humans kept plants from Earth. This was Jake's favorite room on the ship because it reminded him of home. The room had trees and flowers and grass that made the air smell fresh and clean. Zara-Lynn walked into the room and stopped completely. Her skin turned the most beautiful gold and pink colors Jake had ever seen. She looked around at all the green plants and colorful flowers with wonder in her large eyes. "This is incredible," she whispered. "So much life in one place. The colors, the smells, everything is so different from our plants." She walked slowly to a rose bush that had red flowers blooming. Very carefully, she reached out and touched one soft petal with her finger. Her skin became even more golden, and her eyes seemed to glow with happiness. Jake watched her kneeling by the flowers and felt something strong move in his chest. The way the light fell on her pearl-colored skin made her look like something from a dream. Her wonder at simple earth flowers made him see them in a new way, too. She was so beautiful and kind and perfect. Without thinking, Jake leaned toward Danny, who was adjusting his camera equipment. In a very quiet whisper, thinking only his friend could hear, Jake said, "She is beautiful. Would she marry me?" He meant it as a joke to tell his friend about his feelings. He thought he was being quiet enough that only Danny would hear. But as soon as the words left his mouth, he saw Zara-Lynn's head turn slightly toward him. Her skin changed to a deep purple color that Jake had never seen before. She stood up quickly from the flowers, and her eyes looked shocked and confused. For a moment, nobody moved or said anything. Excuse me," Zara-Lynn said in a voice that sounded different than before. She walked quickly out of the botanical lab without looking back at Jake or Danny. Danny stared at Jake with his mouth open. "Dude, did she just hear what you said?" Jake felt like all the blood had left his body. His hands started shaking, and his heart was beating so fast he thought it might stop. "I think I just ruined first contact." "What did you say exactly?" Danny asked while putting down his camera. Jake sat down heavily on a bench next to the roses. "I said she was beautiful and asked if she would marry me. I was just joking around with you. I did not think she could hear me." "But you said these aliens have super hearing," Danny reminded him. "And did you see how her skin turned that weird purple color? That did not look like a happy color." Jake put his head in his hands. "Dr. Crawford told us their skin shows their emotions. I have never seen that purple color before." "It looked like shock, or maybe anger, or maybe embarrassment," Danny suggested. "I mean, you basically just proposed to her in front of witnesses." Jake stood up and started walking back and forth. "What am I going to do? What if she tells Captain Bennett? What if she tells her people that humans are inappropriate and rude? What if this ruins everything between our species?" Danny tried to make him feel better. "Maybe she did not understand what you meant. Maybe human marriage is different from alien marriage," but Jake was not convinced. He had seen the look in Zara-Lynn's eyes when she heard his words. She understood exactly what he said, and it had upset her somehow. All he could think about was how stupid he had been to whisper something so personal when he knew she had better hearing than humans. The rest of the day felt terrible for Jake. He kept thinking about Zara-Lynn's purple skin and shocked expression. He wondered if she was angry or hurt or disgusted. He wondered if she would ask for a different guide tomorrow. He wondered if he had destroyed the most important diplomatic mission in human history just because he could not keep his feelings to himself. At dinner, Zara-Lynn did not come to eat with the humans like she had the night before. The other two? Valari aliens came, but they seemed more formal and distant. Jake tried to act normal, but he felt sick to his stomach with worry. Captain Bennett asked Jake how the day went, and Jake just said everything was fine. He could not bring himself to tell the captain what really happened, not yet anyway. Maybe tomorrow he would have to confess everything and face the consequences. That night Jake could not sleep. He kept thinking about Zaralyn touching the rose petals and how happy she looked. Then he thought about her purple skin and quick exit from the lab. He had never felt so stupid and embarrassed in his whole life. All he wanted was to apologize to her and explain that he meant no harm. But he did not know if she would even want to see him again. Jake woke up the next morning feeling terrible. He had barely slept because he kept thinking about what happened in the botanical lab. His stomach felt sick and his head hurt from worry. He got dressed slowly and wondered if Zaralyn would even want to see him today. At breakfast, Jake could not eat anything. Danny sat with him and tried to make him feel better, but nothing helped. Other crew members were talking excitedly about the alien visitors, but Jake just felt more worried with every word. "Maybe it is not as bad as you think," Danny said while eating his eggs. "Maybe she just needed time to think about what you said." Jake shook his head. "You did not see her face, Danny. She looked shocked and upset. I probably insulted her or something." Dr. Crawford walked over to their table looking concerned. She sat down across from Jake with a serious expression on her face. Jake's heart started beating faster because he could tell she had bad news. "Jake, I need to talk to you about yesterday," Dr. Crawford said quietly. "Captain Bennett is worried because the Valari delegation seems upset about something. Zaralyn asked to change her schedule today, and the other two aliens are acting more formal than before. Did something happen that I should know about?" Jake felt like he was going to be sick. He looked at Danny, who nodded encouragingly. Jake knew he had to tell the truth even if it got him in trouble. "Dr. Crawford, I think I made a big mistake yesterday," Jake said in a quiet voice. "When we were in the botanical lab, I said something to Danny that I thought only he could hear. But Zaralyn heard me and she got upset and left quickly." "What did you say exactly?" Dr. Crawford asked with a worried look. Jake felt his face get hot with embarrassment. "I said she was beautiful and asked if she would marry me. I was just joking around with Danny. I did not mean for her to hear it." Dr. Crawford's eyes got very wide and she looked shocked. "Oh no, Jake, oh no. "What?" Jake asked, feeling even more worried. "What does that mean?" Dr. Crawford took a deep breath and looked around to make sure nobody else could hear them. "Jake, you do not understand Valari culture. In their society, talking about marriage creates a formal social bond. It is not something they say as a joke or without meaning it. When you said those words, you may have accidentally made a marriage proposal to her." Jake felt like the room was spinning around him. "A real proposal, but I was just talking to Danny." "It does not matter who you were talking to," Dr. Crawford explained. "What matters is that she heard you express interest in marrying her. In Valari culture, that is a very serious thing. Marriage proposals require careful thought about whether two people are compatible in their genes, their social positions, and their emotions." Danny whistled low. "So Jake accidentally proposed to an alien princess. She is not exactly a princess, but she is from an important family," Dr. Crawford said. "This explains why the delegation is acting strange. They probably think Jake was being disrespectful by making such a casual proposal." Jake put his head down on the table. "I have ruined everything. What am I going to do?" "First, you need to understand what this means to her," Dr. Crawford said. "Then we need to figure out how to fix this before it damages relations between our species." Meanwhile, on the Valari ship, Zaralyn was having her own problems. She sat in her private room looking out at the stars and thinking about what Jake had said. Her aide Kethnor sat with her trying to understand what happened. He spoke without thinking. Zaralyn said to Kethnor, "In our society, nobody would ever mention marriage so casually. But humans seem to speak their feelings without planning what to say." Kethnor was older than Zaralyn and more traditional. His skin stayed a worried gray color. "This proves what the Council said about human emotional instability. They are too impulsive to be trusted." But Zaralyn found herself defending Jake. He was not being cruel or calculating. He spoke honestly about his feelings. "In our world, such honesty about attraction is rare and refreshing. But he is so primitive, Kethnor said. Humans are violent and unpredictable. How could such a union ever work between our species? Zaralin had been thinking about this same question all night. I have been watching Jake for 2 days now. He is gentle with the plants in their garden. He shows respect for my intelligence and asks thoughtful questions about our culture. He treats me as an equal even though his people consider us more advanced. You are not seriously considering his proposal, Kethnor said with alarm. I do not know what I am considering, Zaralin replied. But I cannot stop thinking about the way he said those words. There was no agenda behind them, no political calculation. He simply spoke what was in his heart. Kethnor reminded her of all the problems such a relationship would create. The council would never approve. Our peoples are too different. What would your family say? Zaralin's skin shifted to determine silver colors. Maybe it is time someone showed that our peoples are not so different. Jake's honest expression of feeling proves that hearts speak the same language everywhere. Back on the human ship, Dr. Crawford was teaching Jake about Valari customs. She showed him information about their marriage rituals and social rules. Jake learned that Valari couples usually took months or even years to decide about marriage after carefully studying each other's backgrounds. So when I said those words, she probably thought I was either being rude or that I had already studied everything about her, Jake said. Exactly, Dr. Crawford confirmed. She probably spent all night trying to figure out if you were insulting her or if you somehow knew things about her family and genetics that would make you compatible. Jake felt worse and worse as he learned more. Is there any way to fix this without ruining everything? Dr. Crawford thought for a moment. There might be. In Valari culture, they have something called a clarification ritual. If there is a misunderstanding about marriage intentions, both people can meet privately and speak their true feelings. This allows them to either move forward with the relationship or end the confusion without losing honor. So I could ask to meet with her and explain what really happened, Jake said hopefully. Yes, but Jake, you need to be very careful about what you say. This is not just about your feelings anymore. The future relationship between humans and Valari could depend on how you handle this. Jake spent the rest of the morning learning everything he could about Valari culture and marriage customs. He practiced what he would say to Zaralin if she agreed to meet with him. Dr. Crawford helped him understand the proper way to request a clarification ritual. At lunchtime, Jake sent an official message to Zaralin through the diplomatic channels. He requested a private meeting to perform a clarification ritual about his words from the day before. He tried to use the proper formal language that would show respect for her culture. Hours passed before Zaralin responded. Jake waited nervously. In his room, pacing back and forth and wondering what she would say. Finally, a message came back saying she would meet with him that evening in the ship's meditation chamber. The meditation chamber was a quiet room with soft lights and comfortable places to sit. It was designed to be peaceful and help people think. Clearly, Jake arrived early and tried to calm his nerves. He had never been more nervous in his life. When Zaralin arrived, Jake noticed her skin was a mixture of colors he had not seen before. There were blues for thinking, purples for uncertainty, and silver for determination, all swirling together. She looked as nervous as he felt. "Hello, Jake," she said quietly. "I received your request for clarification." Jake stood up and bowed his head the way Dr. Crawford had taught him. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with me, Zaralin. I want to apologize for any confusion or disrespect my words may have caused." Zaralin sat down across from him and her skin settled into mostly blue. "Thinking colors. I have been trying to understand what happened. Your words surprised me very much." "I need to explain something," Jake said carefully. "When I spoke those words, I was not making a formal proposal in the way your people understand it. I was speaking carelessly to my friend without thinking that you might hear me." Zaralin's skin shifted to curious yellow. "So you did not mean what you said?" Jake paused, knowing his next words were very important. That is the complicated part. "I did not mean to make a formal proposal, but I cannot lie and say the feelings behind my words were not real." Jake sat in the quiet meditation chamber looking at Zaralyn across from him. Her skin kept changing colors as she thought about what he had just said. He could see blues for deep thinking mixed with purples for confusion and touches of gold. That might have been hope. "So you are saying your feelings were real, but your proposal was not meant to be formal?" Zaralyn said slowly. "This is very confusing for me to understand." Jake took a deep breath and decided to be completely honest. "In human culture, we sometimes say things about our feelings without planning them. When I saw you touching the flowers and looking so happy, I felt something strong in my heart. The words came out before I could stop them." "What did you feel?" Zaralyn asked. Her voice was soft and curious. Jake felt his face get warm, but he kept talking. "I felt attracted to you. Not just because you are beautiful, though you are the most beautiful being I have ever seen. I was attracted to your intelligence, your kindness, the way you ask thoughtful questions about everything. The way you treated our simple earth flowers, like they were precious treasures." Zaralyn's skin shifted to warmer colors, golds and pinks swirling together. "These feelings happened very quickly. We have only known each other for 2 days. That is true," Jake agreed. "In your culture, you probably take much more time to develop such feelings. But humans sometimes feel attraction quickly, especially when we meet someone special." "And what do you want to happen now?" Zaralyn asked. "Do you wish me to forget your words and continue as if nothing happened?" Jake thought carefully about his answer. "I want to be honest with you about everything. I am attracted to you and I would like to know you better. But I do not expect you to make any quick decisions about marriage or relationships. I know our peoples are very different and there would be many challenges." Zaralyn was quiet for a long time, her skin cycling through different shades of blue as she processed everything. Finally she spoke. "I must tell you something, Jake. Your words have been in my thoughts since yesterday. Not because I was angry or insulted, but because they stirred feelings in me that I did not expect." Jake's heart started beating faster. "What kind of feelings?" "In my culture, expressions of attraction are usually calculated and formal. People study each other's backgrounds and genetics before speaking of marriage. But your spontaneous words showed me something different about humans. You spoke from your heart without any agenda or plan." Zaralyn's skin turned to soft silver colors. "I have been thinking about you too, Jake, about your gentleness with living things, your respect for my intelligence even though you consider my people more advanced than yours. The way you try so hard to understand our culture and make me feel welcome." Jake felt hope growing in his chest but tried not to get too excited. "Does this mean you might be interested in getting to know each other better?" "I am interested," Zaralyn said, and her skin glowed with warm gold. "But I am also frightened. Our peoples are so different. What would your people think about a human and Valeri relationship? What would mine think?" "I do not know what others would think," Jake admitted. "But I believe that if two people care about each other and respect each other, they can work through their differences." Zaralyn stood up and walked to the small window in the meditation chamber. She looked out at the stars while Jake waited nervously for her to speak again. "There is something you should know about me," she said without turning around. "I am not just any Valeri. My family is important in our government. If I chose to pursue a relationship with a human, it would be noticed by many people." "Does that mean you cannot make your own choices?" Jake asked. Zaralyn turned to look at him with a small smile. "It means my choices have consequences for more than just myself, but it does not mean I cannot make them." She walked back and sat down closer to Jake than before. "I want to propose something. Instead of thinking about marriage or formal relationships, what if we simply spent time together as friends? We could learn about each other's cultures and see if these feelings we both have are real or just curiosity about something different." Jake smiled for the first time since the botanical lab incident. "I would like that very much. We could take as much time as you need to feel comfortable." "There is one more thing," Zaralyn said. "I want you to teach me more about human emotions and how you express feelings so spontaneously. And I will teach you about Valeri customs so you do not accidentally propose to anyone else." They both laughed at that, and Jake saw Zaralyn's skin turn the most beautiful shade of happy gold he had ever seen. Over the following days, Jake and Zaralyn spent more time together both during official activities and in their free time. Jake showed her more human technology and culture while Zaralyn taught him about Valari art, music, and philosophy. They discovered they both loved learning about different forms of life. Jake told her about all the places on Earth he wanted to visit someday, while Zaralyn described the amazing creatures that lived on her home world. They found they could talk for hours about their dreams and ideas. Jake learned that Valari music was created by changing the colors of their skin in patterns that made sound. Zaralyn showed him simple melodies by making her skin shift from blue to gold to silver in rhythm. Jake tried to teach her human music by humming songs and was amazed. When she could copy the melodies perfectly, Zaralyn was fascinated by human art and literature. She spent hours looking at paintings and photographs that Jake showed her on the computer systems. She was especially interested in human poetry and the way humans used words to express deep emotions. "Your people put so much feeling into everything you create," she told Jake one evening as they looked at images from Earth museums. "Even your simplest songs and stories carry strong emotions." "Is Valari art different?" Jake asked. "Our art is more focused on harmony and balance," Zaralyn explained. "We create beautiful things, but they are usually calm and peaceful. Human art seems to express passion and conflict and joy all mixed together." Jake found himself seeing human culture through her eyes. Things he had always taken for granted seemed more interesting when he had to explain them to someone from another world. The other crew members began to notice that Jake and Zaralyn were spending a lot of time together. Some were curious and others seemed worried. Captain Bennett called Jake to his office one afternoon to ask about the situation. "Jake, I have noticed you and our Valari guest have become quite friendly," Captain Bennett said. "Is there anything I should know about?" Jake decided to be honest with his captain too. "Sir, Zaralyn and I have developed a friendship that might become something more. We are taking things slowly and being respectful of both our cultures." Captain Bennett looked concerned. "You understand this could complicate diplomatic relations between our species." "Yes, sir, but Dr. Crawford thinks it might actually help relations if we can show that humans and Valari can understand each other on a personal level." The captain thought about this for a moment. "Just be very careful, Jake. A lot of people are watching this first contact mission. Make sure whatever develops between you two reflects well on humanity." Meanwhile, Zaralyn was having similar conversations with her fellow Valari. Kethnor continued to express concern about her growing friendship with Jake. "The Council will not approve of this relationship," Kethnor warned her. "They already worry about human unpredictability." "Maybe it is time the Council learned that human unpredictability can be a good thing," Zaralyn replied. "Jake's honesty and openness have taught me more about his people than all our formal diplomatic meetings." "And what have you learned?" Kethnor asked. Zaralyn's skin glowed with warm colors as she thought about Jake. "I have learned that humans feel deeply and love strongly. They are willing to take risks for things they believe in. Jake is teaching me that sometimes the heart knows things the mind has not figured out yet." As the days passed, Jake and Zaralyn grew closer. They had not talked about marriage again, but both felt their friendship deepening into something special. Jake found himself counting the hours until he could see her again, and Zaralyn began staying on the human ship longer each day. 2 weeks had passed since Jake's accidental proposal in the botanical lab. What started as a terrible mistake had grown into something beautiful between him and Zaralyn. They spent every possible moment together, learning about each other's worlds and discovering how much they had in common. Despite their different species, Jake had learned to read Zaralyn's skin colors like a language. Gold meant happiness, blue meant deep thinking, silver meant determination, and his favorite new color was a soft pink that appeared when she looked at him with affection. Zaralyn had learned to understand human facial expressions and the way Jake's voice changed when he was excited or nervous. They had developed their own special routines. Every morning they met in the botanical lab where their story began. Zara Lynn would touch different earth flowers while Jake told her stories about each plant. She loved hearing about how roses meant love in human culture and how daisies represented innocence. Every evening they met in the observation lounge to watch the stars together. Zara Lynn would point out constellations visible from her homeworld, while Jake showed her the patterns humans saw in the same stars. They would talk about their dreams and plans and what they hoped for the future, but Jake knew their time together was limited. The cultural exchange program was supposed to end soon and Zara Lynn would have to return to her homeworld with the other Villari diplomats. The thought of her leaving made him feel empty and sad. One evening as they sat watching stars, Jake finally brought up the subject they had both been avoiding.